how's things with you and the rest of the guys?
Good now. It's exciting to, be in the position where, finally we have new music coming out
Hmm.
and, the stuff that people have heard has been, really well received, and we have tours on sale that are going really well. And, after a long period of just stop start, it's nice to be feeling that kind of ongoing progress and that feeling of arrival in regards to being able to finally share our music again with people.
Yeah, it's been I've obviously been following along for the last few years. It's been a bit of a hard slog for you guys. Take us back to the very beginning of all this, because obviously, like with the pandemic and all that kind of stuff, like it's been an interesting ride for you guys, I think.
Yeah, it has. I mean, obviously, a lot of people, have their stories from the last few years. Us included. For us, we came home beginning of July 2019 to write the new album. We booked in studio time for March, April 2020, and then that album was going to be out second half of 2020, and we were going to go back on the road touring.
Yeah.
Um, you know, uh, Dan flew down to across to Nashville, USA to record drums with Mark Lewis and he came back about March 13. And literally, like, while he was in the air, Australia announced that they were, enforcing the 2-week quarantine and stuff like that. And so
Yeah.
he got back just in time to be able to miss that. But then we had, our lead guitarist Benji lives in France, our bassist Martina lives in Italy, and our producer was in the US. And all of them were supposed to come to Australia 1 week later to record the record, and none of them got in because the borders closed, and all of a sudden we couldn't get together to record the album, and everything got cancelled. And I mean, kind of to cut a long story short, basically it ended up taking uh 9 recording studios over you know, almost 2.5 years to get to the stage where we actually finished the record. My
Yeah.
vocals were done across, you know, um, 3 different studios. I finished them here in my home studio.
All right.
um, the crazy thing is, like, some of the vocals on the lead single, Equus, actually were recorded in 3 different studios, 2 of them being home studios of mine, which was not the original plan. We had to, all of a sudden, there was lockdown for months. I was like, hey, maybe we need to try and buy some of this gear so we can record, because I had like almost enough. So it was really tough because, we would get stuff planned, and then literally the day before there'd be a lockdown happen, it would get canceled, and all of a sudden you're sitting around waiting for, 3 months or 6 months. And that's okay once, but we had some really bad luck just with the timing of when we had certain things booked in. And other things came up as well, in our personal lives that then were added in amongst that. you know yeah, just relationships breaking down or deaths in the family, all these different sort of things that kind of
Mm.
came into the experience of myself, in particular. And so then it was trying to get back in a headspace where you could feel creative and you could feel connected to these songs, because we wrote most of these songs like second half of 2019, early 2020.
Yeah.
And then a song like Graal, I hadn't finished writing the violin yet when the lockdowns happened, and I didn't even look at it for a year. I just got put off to the side, and then after about a year, I was like, oh, hey, we can record again. It's like, all right, I guess I better finish writing my parts, because I kind
Yeah.
of had this writer's block after the lockdowns happened. It was like, okay, well, I can't even think about finishing that song. But it was, an unusual experience, because getting the opportunity to revisit a song that we'd written most of a year earlier and getting to come back to it with a fresh view. I mean, I came up with a bunch of ideas for that song, like the violin solo that I wrote at the end of Graal. I wrote that a year after everything else, and
Mm.
that's one of my favorite solos on the record. And so there was these, little silver linings and benefits. And of course, like, the benefit of not having a hard deadline meant that when push came to shove, we could just take the time to make sure it was exactly what we wanted for
Yeah.
these songs. And the great result with that is that, we love the record. We're really proud of it. And even though it took forever, you know, we got there, and we think it's something that is, you know, the best thing that we've done so far.
Yeah, and it's quite common. I hear that story a lot with a lot of musicians that I've spoken to over the last couple of years about how, obviously the COVID's kind of affected their recording time, and it's given them a bit more of a chance to kind of really get into the details of a song and kind of look at it and tweak it even more, fine tune it and stuff. And obviously you had that same experience as well. And do you find that that really made the album just that much better as well, that you otherwise might not have taken the time to sort of fine tune it that way?
I don't really know. I mean, I guess the difference is that, you know, the work was spread out more. So normally it's like really hectic where you finish recording and straight away you're mixing
Mm.
and then straight on to the master. And so it ends up just being, you know, long days, long weeks, and then it's done, all in a fairly short period of time. And sometimes that works really well. Sometimes like forcing me to make a decision on a violin solo, that can get a good result, you know, creatively. But but I guess the one thing I would say is that there are some things that might have been different, you know, whether they're better or not, you can't really know for sure.
Mm.
But just there's definitely some things that changed because of the extra time. And, you know, as a reflection of that headspace, because it's always the headspace you're in when you're writing. And so if you spread out the writing period, then you get a more of a mixture of those different headspaces you're in. And so, you know, I think that, you know, in the end, the thing that, you know, we really got to towards the end was, we're already so behind. It's already taken so long. Let's not rush the end. You know, let's make sure this is the best thing that we've got. And that's what happened with my vocals, when my vocals got canceled so many times. And then all of a sudden I'm recording them at home. And with lots of time, you know, and
Mm.
so I could redo them in a way that is, you know, difficult sometimes, because if you can always redo them, you do.
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
but at the same time, it meant that I knew exactly what I wanted, so I could take my time and go, no, 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 I want this line to sound exactly like this, and I could just keep doing it till I got it.
Mm.
And that really refined the vocal performance. And I do think that, especially in regards to my vocals, I think it's by far my best vocal performance on a Ne Obliviscaris album. And I think that extra time definitely helped that aspect of it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the other thing to that would be, I guess you'd be maybe a little bit sort of aware or a little wary, I guess, of maybe overthinking things. I mean, can you overthink something in music when you're writing and recording?
Yeah, definitely. I think that when you first write something, what I'm looking for is the excitement about where the idea might take you with the song.
Mm.
And if you feel that excitement and that energizing nature of an idea, that's the sign that, okay, maybe I'm onto something with this idea for this song. But then when you go to record, you're searching for what is in your imagination to bring it to life. And that analysis of whether your imagination and the real life recording is matching can send you down a rabbit hole where you can disappear and never come back.
Yeah.
And there are artists who are really bad at releasing stuff because, you know, they are so perfectionist. And that, I think, is the issue, that they're searching for this perfect version of the songs. And it's
Mm.
really hard to get art perfect. So for me personally, I have a process that I go through to make sure I'm analyzing all of the different elements of the song, of the recording, of the mix, of the master. And I'm analyzing all these different things to check so that I'm not just feeling it. But then once I've gone through that process, you know, if I come up with things that I wish were different, but it's at a too late a stage, it's like, okay, cool. Maybe I want to change that, but I can't change that without redoing the whole thing. So forget about it. That's
Yeah.
a learning thing for next album. And that's what we've always done with every record. Every record, when we get to the end and we release it, there's always some things where you might go, oh, maybe I might have done that differently, even just with the way it was recorded or whatever. But the only way to do it differently is to do it again. And you're not going to do that. You already spent all the money, you've done it, and it's already very good.
Yeah.
So then it's just going, okay, I learned that lesson, and you bring that to the next album. And I think that's the way to get away from perfectionism, to go have a process, go through it, make all the improvements you can. And then when you've gone through that process, go, okay, well, that's the best I can get it for now. It's not perfect. That's okay. It's not supposed to be perfect. It's art.
Yep.
And then you take those lessons to the next record, and hopefully the next record is just that much better because of the lessons you've learned from this one.
So what did you, I mean, despite all the things that have happened, obviously, in the last couple of years, what do you think you've taken away the most from this experience with this album?
I think from a creative perspective, I had a really clear vision back in the second half of 2019 when these songs were first being written. You know, something like Misericord 2, you know, I wrote most of that in a short period of time, and it's really hard on a demo version to bring to life all of the intricate strings that are happening in that song. And so as a result, a lot of it is just in my imagination. And then it's having that belief that you can bring that to reality. And then when we got, you know, the final master of the album, and I'm listening to that track as just one example, you know, I almost had tears in my eyes going like, fuck yes, like that's what I was imagining almost 3 years ago now. And there it is. Yeah. And we did it. And so I think just the conviction to know that, hey, when you have these ideas, and just to back ourselves, you know, because some of the things on this record were more ambitious, more complicated to record and mix than we've done on other records. And just the conviction to back ourselves and then go, yep, that's what we wanted. And that's okay if some people don't connect with it. Like, we love it. And that's all we want. We want to release music that we love. Yeah. And that's what we did this time. And so just that, you know, I think that's definitely the thing I take away from it creatively, that through all of those ups and downs, we stuck at what the goal was, what the vision was for this record, and we got there.
And obviously the feedback so far from the singles that you've released has been pretty positive so far, right?
Yeah, it's been really overwhelming, actually. You know, I was sitting with my daughter. We were reading through YouTube comments, right? And, you know, I told that to someone recently, and they said, "Oh, don't do that. Like, you don't read the YouTube comments." And it was like, you know, especially not with your daughter, right? Maybe there's going to be bad things said about you. But we're looking through it, right? And, you know, it's like 99 out of 100 comments there are saying that these are some of the best songs we've ever done, which is really great. And so the singles have definitely had the best response for any songs we've released. The sales are way up for the new album on pre-order. The streaming numbers are way up. Like, you know, we've got European and US tours on sale, and the tickets for those tours are like double what we've done in the past. So everything's looking really, really great, which is very exciting, because after such a long time of waiting, it's just really heartening to go, oh, hey, it was such a tough time. Sometimes we had discussions in the band where it got brought up like, hey, are we ever going to finish this record? But we got there, and now, you know, finally we're getting that reward of hearing that people are connecting with the songs.
And obviously taking it out on the road and seeing the actual faces in person as well is got to be, it must be, as soon as you step on that stage for the first time, that's got to be one of the best feelings you're going to have, I think.
Oh, absolutely. You know, where you know, May 5 is the first show, and it's in Helsinki, you know, first show of a month-long European tour. And you know, I think that that one's looking on track to sell out, which is really exciting, you know, because we'll have, you know, 800 people there or something. And it's always a really great time playing in Finland. But it'll be the first show in almost 4 years for us. And I haven't even seen some of the guys in person since our last show. So like Martino's been in Italy, Benji's been in France. I haven't seen them. I mean, we have meetings on Zoom all the time. Like we chat, we hang out digitally, but I haven't been in the same room with those guys since June 2019. And so when we get together, we're landing there in on May 1 for some rehearsals, and I haven't seen them. So it's kind of crazy because, so much of your life has then gone by, and you haven't seen these people that normally you live together like months of the year on the road. You
Yeah.
don't see them for almost 4 years. Like, so that's going to be really crazy. It'll be great to give those guys a hug and just to play together again. And I think the crowd's really going to feel that excitement that we have when we tour, and then obviously, coming back to Australia, pretty soon as well.
Yeah, so I don't know, I haven't checked up on it, but is there dates coming for an Australian tour at all?
There is. We haven't announced it yet. We have stuff lined up in the second half of this year.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully we'll be announcing that later this month. So yeah, definitely an announcement around the corner for all our Australian fans, because we've had a lot of people saying, hey, what about Australia? Because we announced
Yeah.
Europe and the USA. They're like, are you an Australian man? Like, where's the Australian tour? It's like, yeah, it's in the works.
Yeah.
And it'll be really exciting. But the Australian tour we have planned is the biggest one we've ever done. And we're really excited. It's once again a bit of a rare opportunity for Australia with our tour, because normally we tour like about once a year in Australia. But by the time this tour rolls around, it'll have been like 4.5 years since our last Australian tour.
Wow.
And that might never happen again,
Yeah.
that sort of gap, because, after that tour, hopefully we'll, keep touring like, each year or two or whatever. So that sort of gap of 4.5 years between Australian shows, not something that we would choose to do, but it's kind of exciting to imagine the excitement in the room, because Australian fans are used to getting to see us lots. And then for the first time, we haven't got to hang out together for years. And then it'll be a special thing to rekindle that energy on stage and in those rooms later this year.
Well, looking forward to that for sure. Look, congratulations on the new album. Obviously, great stuff as always, and such an epic trek to sort of get here. So well done on that, and thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. It's been a fun chat today.
Thank you very much, Andrew. I really appreciate your support.